Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of The Manic Mechanic. Today, we're going back, way back, to when I looked like this, and I had brilliant ideas like taking this 125 Suzuki Marauder all the way on an 8-hour trip through B roads to the Lake District just to see my mates. Hashtag no regrets. Unfortunately, that motorbike is not what today's video is about. It's about this. This is Franklin, my 1.6 Mark II Ford Focus, my pride and joy, my beauty, and also a massive pile of junk. The problem with this is that it's failed its MOT. Both dampers need changing. MOT's tomorrow because I've left it to the last minute. Let's get right into it. First things first, chock up your rear wheels. Open one window just so you don't lock yourself out. Ask me how I know. Then open the bonnet so you look like an absolute pro and jack up your car. Word of warning, never jack up your car on an inclined driveway. Guess what I'm doing here? But hey ho, we all work with what we've got, and this is what I had at the time. Okay, so once you've got that wheel off, the very first thing you want to do is absolutely soak the end of that dampener in WD-40 or any other penetrant or lubricant you can find. Always handy to make sure you get it all over your work surface, makes the rest of the job really pleasant. Coming into shot shortly is Zed. He's a good old friend of mine from the uni days, a complete car novice, and has no idea what he's getting himself into. Step one with your mate is make sure he sits right in front of the camera so his hairy arms screw up your autofocus for the rest of the shot. What he's attempting to do here is get the drop link off. One end connects to your, what they call A-arms, and the other one connects to your dampers. That's the end you want to disconnect. Unfortunately, they're a massive pain. You can see you need to hold the central part with an Allen, and then with whatever the heck you can, try and release the rest of it. I really should have soaked this in WD-40 a bit sooner. If all else fails, smash it with a hammer. You can already see just above the adjustable right now is the cable that went to the brakes for the ABS. Make sure you disconnect that before you move on to the next stage in this project. Also, don't lose the bracket that I've just removed. Ask me how I know that as well. Once you're done, this is literally the hardest part. You need to get the hub off the damper, and I didn't have a big enough hammer, so it took me forever. The neighbours were delighted. Right, here you can already see I've taken the first guard off right over the windscreen wipers, and I'm going to have to remove the next guard so I can get at the 3 bolts at the top of the dampeners. Always take pictures before you dismantle. If your car is as old and rusty as mine, these bolts have a massive tendency to snap. Ask me how I know. As I'm watching this, I've also forgot to mention that you need to disconnect your brake line from the little clamp on the damper. You don't need to disconnect it from the hub if it's long enough. This is probably the only specialised tool you really need for this. You need some spring compressors. You need to take the tension off those springs before you release the top nut, or they'll go flying up in the air, you'll never find it again, and more importantly, you'll never get it back on. What you're about to see here is me realising that as I remove this little grey cup from the top of the dampener, I've realised I forgot to remove it on the other one. A lot of swearing, cursing, smashing the ground, and doing other pointless activities ensued. at this point, if you've got a mate that keeps asking you, what should I do next? Just tell him that you really need to clean the hell out of that spring before you put it back in. Oh, aren't you forgetting something? Yeah, there you go. Wouldn't want to forget it on 2 dampers in a row. Well, if something just doesn't quite fit, there's always a solution. Smash it with a hammer. Right, so clean up the surfaces that you're going to make together, so that's the hub and the damper, and then put WD-40 everywhere. You're going to need as much help as possible. Whilst I'm here, I'm going to apologise. The shots from here to the end of the video are absolutely appalling. We were running out of time, the MOT was the next day, and we just had to get it done. So get ready to see a lot of my shoulder. The trick to getting these back on is to use the weight of the car and the force of the spring. So line them up, get the jack underneath, and then spend about 3 days trying to jack it into place. Okay, when you've got enough force on the jack and compressing the whole system, tap it about with a hammer. It should wiggle down slowly, and then eventually, after a lot of hard work, a lot of swearing, a lot of stress that you're not going to make it to your MOT, and a lot of shouting at your mate for constantly asking you the wrong, stupid questions because he hasn't got a clue about cars, you should hopefully hear something a little bit like this. Oh, that is so satisfying. Right, well when you've heard that sound, everything's good. Just get back up to tightening everything up the way it was, and spend about 4 hours googling what your torque settings were, and then probably getting them wrong. Right, first things first, get the nut clamping the bottom of the damper into the hub back in, and don't forget to torque this up. This is really important. This is what holds your hub to your damper, obviously. Right, well, this next ridiculous effort you're watching me do is quite similar to before. I'm using the jack to move the whole assembly up and down until the top of the drop link lines up with the tab it's supposed to go into. This can take a while. You need to go up and down. When it lines up, slot it through, and it'll look something like this. After that, don't forget to put the tab that's holding the electronics back on. Do it all back up. Don't forget to put the electronics through there. I was in a bit of a rush, so I've kind of missed a lot of this stuff here. Hook your brake line back into that tab, and then tighten up the top of the drop link. For all of you doubters out there that thought I, the Manic Mechanic, had forgotten to torque up a bolt, here it is. I just had my wonderful apprentice looking up the torque settings for me. And there is that wonderful double click that confirms that no mechanic can actually torque up just once. You need to double click to make sure. Now, for those of you with keen eyes, you'll notice I was in such a rush that these last two shots are the first two shots backwards. So the wheel coming off in reverse and the car getting jacked up in reverse. The car getting jacked up's a little bit more obvious because I'm pumping to make it come down, but we all make do with what we have. Right, once that's all done, you've got your wheels back on and torqued up, go for a quick test drive before you go to your MOT. Make sure everything sounds good and nothing feels weird. And that's it. Thank you all very much for watching. I haven't given any specifics because each car's different, and if I did, I'd probably get the torque settings wrong. Thank you very much. As always, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Alright guys, I can't end this video without giving a huge shout out to my boy, my homie, the one and only, the most patient man on earth, Zaydayoub. Zaydayoub? However you want to pronounce it. There's no way we would have got this done in time without you. Thank you very much, mate, and hopefully see you soon.